Dear students, in the previous lecture, I have discussed the brief history, purpose, composition, and jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. In today's lecture, I am going to explain the role of International Court of Justice, especially in terms of promoting international peace and developing international law. In this lecture, I'm also going to discuss the various challenges which International Court of Justice faces while discharging its functions. I will also try to address the question that why states should support multilateral institutions like International Court of Justice. Dear students, as you know, that International Court of Justice is the paramount judicial organ of the United Nations. This International Court of Justice reflects the collective commitment of nations to the peaceful settlement of disputes and the upholding of international law. So, though ICJ's primary responsibility is to settle legal disputes between states and to provide an advisory opinion on matters of international law, however, ICJ's significance extends beyond this. ICJ also serves as a guardian of the international legal order because it interprets and clarifies key principles of international law, therefore contributing to the development of a legal framework for the resolution of conflict and the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. So, we can say that ICJ is the principal judicial organ of the UN system. It occupies a central position in the global quest for peace, justice, and the rule of law. Its role in settling disputes, providing legal clarity, and upholding the principles of international law underscores its great contribution to the maintenance of international peace and security. Given this very brief significance of ICJ, now we are going to see its role in various areas, especially in promoting international peace, in promoting international law. Dear students, the International Court of Justice significantly contributes to peace building by offering a peaceful and judicial means to states to resolve their disputes. Now, the question is that how it contributes to peace. Firstly, the ICJ serves as a neutral and impartial forum for states to settle their disputes peacefully. By providing a platform where states can present their cases and arguments in a legal setting, the ICJ offers an alternative to a unilateral action or armed conflicts. Secondly, since the ICJ's jurisdiction is based on the consent of the parties involved in a dispute, therefore, states sometimes voluntarily submit their disputes to the ICJ, agreeing to abide by its decisions. This consensual basis for jurisdiction underscores the commitment of states to resolve their differences through peaceful means and reinforces the legitimacy of the ICJ's rulings. Thirdly, through legal expertise and adjudication. Dear students, as you know, that ICJ comprises judges with expertise in international law. This legal expertise and reasoned judgment enhances the credibility and legitimacy of the ICJ's rulings, encouraging states to accept and implement them, thereby contributing to peace and stability in the world. Fourthly, ICJ also helps in conflict prevention and confidence building. Their students, the process of appearing before the ICJ and engaging in legal proceedings often encourages states to engage in dialogue and diplomacy to resolve their disputes, even if the court's final decision does not fully satisfy all the parties. So, the process of presenting arguments and evidence before the court can facilitate communication and understanding between states. This diplomatic engagement can contribute to building trust and confidence, therefore, laying ground for future cooperation and conflict resolution efforts. So we can say that ICJ provides peaceful and judicial means to states to resolve their disputes, which is instrumental in peace building efforts. By offering a neutral and impartial forum, adjudicating cases based on legal expertise, and issuing binding decisions, the ICJ helps to prevent conflicts, promote stability, and uphold the rule of law in the international community. Dear students, now we will try to understand that why resolving disputes through legal mechanisms rather than resorting to violence or armed conflict is important. There are several reasons for resolving disputes peacefully and amicably, like prevention of human lives. It means armed conflicts and violence often result in significant loss of life, displacement of civilians. By resolving disputes through legal mechanisms, states can prevent the devastating human toll associated with armed conflict and ensure the protection of innocent civilians. It is also important for the maintenance of peace and stability, protection of property and infrastructure, and prevention of humanitarian crisis. Humanitarian crisis means that by resolving disputes through legal mechanisms, states can mitigate the risk of humanitarian emergencies and address the issues such as poverty, inequality, and discrimination. It's also important for the promotion of justice, accountability, enhancement of diplomacy and dialogue, upholding international norms and commitments. So these are the few reasons that why peaceful resolution of disputes is important rather than to go for wars, go for conflicts. So we can say that resolving disputes through legal mechanisms rather than resorting to violence or armed conflict is essential for preserving human lives, maintaining peace and stability, protecting property and infrastructure, preventing humanitarian crisis, promoting justice and accountability, enhancing diplomacy and dialogue, and upholding international norms and commitments. By embracing legal mechanisms for dispute resolution, states can build a more just, peaceful, and prosperous world for all. Now, I am going to cite few examples where the rulings of the International Court of Justice have contributed to diffuse tensions and promote peace between states. For example, Nicaragua versus United States of America. In this case, Nicaragua brought a suit against the United States, alleging that the US had engaged in military and paramilitary activities in Nicaragua, including supporting armed groups against the Nicaragua government. The ICJ ruled that the US had violated Nicaragua's sovereignty and international law and ordered it to cease its actions and pay reparations. While the US did not comply fully with the judgment, this ruling of ICJ helped to bring attention to the conflict and contributed to diplomatic efforts to resolve the tensions between the two countries. Another example is El Salvador versus Honduras case. This case involved a long standing territorial dispute between El Salvador and Honduras over land, islands, and maritime boundaries in the Gulf of Fonseca. The ICJ's ruling in this case, which is known as the Los Angeles Judgment, delineated the maritime boundaries between these two countries and resolved the dispute. So, this ruling of ICJ helped to diffuse tensions between these two countries, therefore, contributed to the normalization of relations between these two countries. So these examples highlight that how ICJ's rulings have played a role in resolving disputes between states, diffusing tensions, and promoting peace. While ICJ's rulings may not always lead to immediate or complete resolution of disputes, but they serve as important mechanisms for peaceful dispute resolution, therefore contribute to the maintenance of international peace and security. The International Court of Justice also plays an important role in promotion of the rule of law in strengthening the international legal order in many ways. Firstly, through adjudication of disputes based on international law. As you know, the primary function of the ICJ is to settle legal disputes between states based on international law. By adjudicating these cases on the basis of established legal principles and norms, the ICJ reinforces the idea that states are bound by international law and must abide by their legal obligations. This promotes the rule of law at the international level and contributes to the development of a more orderly international legal system. The ICJ also promotes rule of law and international law by interpretation and development of international law. The court's rulings help to develop and refine international legal norms. The ICJ's judgments also provide clarity about the legal rights, about the legal obligations of states under international law. Finally, though the ICJ does not have direct enforcement powers, its judgments carry significant moral and legal weight. States are generally expected to comply with the ICJ's decisions, and non compliance may lead to reputational damage and diplomatic consequences. So, dear students, we can say that the ICJ promotes the rule of law. It strengthens the international legal order by settling disputes based on international law. It also interprets and develops international legal norms, clarifies legal rights and obligations, promotes peaceful dispute resolution, therefore contributing to the enforcement of international law. Through its work, the ICJ also helps to create a more just, orderly, and peaceful world governed by the principles of law and justice. Dear students, now we are going to discuss how this international law, promoted and developed by ICJ, is helpful in preventing conflicts and maintaining international peace and security. Firstly, international law provides a framework for regulating the conduct of states and promoting peaceful coexistence among nations. By establishing rules, norms governing state behavior, international law helps to prevent disputes and conflicts between states. States that adhere to international law are more likely to resolve their differences through peaceful means such as negotiation, mediation, rather than resorting to violence, rather than resorting to armed conflict. Second way is that international law also upholds the principles of state sovereignty and territorial integrity, which are very fundamental to maintaining stability and peaceful relations between states. Respect for these principles helps to prevent disputes over borders, territories, and resources, which can often escalate into conflict. Thus, adherence to international law ensures that states respect each other's sovereignty and refrain from actions that threaten the territorial integrity of states. Thirdly, international law prohibits the use of force or aggression by states against each other, except in case of self defense or with the authority from this UN Security Council under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter. By prohibiting acts of aggression, use of force, international law also helps to prevent states from engaging in military conflicts and promotes the peaceful settlement of disputes through diplomatic and legal norms. International law also contains provisions for the protection of human rights and humanitarian law, which are essential for safeguarding the dignity, security, and well being of individuals, particularly in times of armed conflict. Adherence to these principles help to prevent atrocities, war crimes, and violations of human rights, promoting peace and stability within and between states. States that respect international human rights law are less likely to engage in repression, violence, or discrimination against their own citizens or other populations. Most importantly, international law contributes to the maintenance of a rule based international order. States that abide by international legal norms and obligations contribute to the overall stability of the international system. Adherence to international law enhances the credibility and effectiveness of international institutions such as the UN and its organs in addressing global challenges and promoting collective security. So, following international law is very essential for preventing conflicts and maintaining international peace and security. By promoting peaceful coexistence, protecting sovereignty and territorial integrity, preventing aggression and use of force, upholding human rights and humanitarian law, and maintaining international order and stability. By respecting and upholding the principles and norms of international law, states can contribute to a more just, peaceful, and prosperous world for all of us. Now we're going to understand that why states should support the multilateral institutions like ICJ in addressing global challenges and building a more peaceful world. Their students supporting international multilateral institutions like International Court of Justice is essential for addressing global challenges and building a more peaceful world for several reasons. The first reason is that multilateral institutions provide a forum for states to come together, exchange their ideas, and collaborate on common challenges. By supporting institutions like ICJ, states demonstrate their commitment to multilateralism and collective action, recognizing that many global issues such as climate change, terrorism require coordinated responses that transcend national boundaries. Another reason is that ICJ serves as a key mechanism for the peaceful settlement of international disputes through legal means. By providing a neutral and impartial forum for states to resolve their differences, the ICJ also helps to prevent conflicts from escalating into violence and promotes stability and security at the international level. Therefore, supporting the ICJ reinforces the principle that disputes should be settled through dialogue, negotiation, and legal arbitration rather through coercion or through force. Multilateral institutions like ICJ also plays a crucial role in upholding human rights and the rule of law globally. By adjudicating cases involving human rights violations and ensuring compliance with international legal standards, the ICJ helps to hold states accountable for their actions and protect the rights and dignity of individuals around the world. Supporting the ICJ strengthens the international legal order and promotes a culture of respect for human rights and the rule of law. Multilateral institutions like ICJ also contribute to the prevention of conflicts and instability by addressing causes of tensions and promoting peaceful resolution of disputes. By providing platforms for dialogue, mediation, and conflict resolution, these institutions help to build trust and confidence between states, reduce the risk of misunderstandings and miscalculations, and prevent conflict from erupting or escalating into broader crisis. Supporting multilateral institutions like the ICJ is therefore essential for maintaining peace and security in an increasingly interconnected world. Multilateral institutions also play a crucial role in shaping global governance structures and addressing governance gaps in areas such as trade, finance, health, and the environment. By supporting institutions like the ICJ, states can strengthen the effectiveness, legitimacy, and inclusivity of global governance arrangements, ensuring that they reflect the interests and priorities of all countries and contribute to the common good of humanity. So, supporting multilateral institutions like the International Court of Justice is indispensable for addressing global challenges, promoting peace and stability, upholding human rights, and the rule of law. preventing conflicts and instability, and advancing global governance. By working together through multilateral cooperation, states can build a more peaceful, just, and sustainable world for present and future generations. So, dear students, in today's lesson, we have seen that the International Court of Justice plays an important role in promoting peace, justice, and the rule of law on the global stage. Through its adjudication of disputes, interpretation of international law, and promotion of multilateralism, the ICJ contributes to the prevention of conflicts, protection of human rights, and advancement of global governance. By supporting multilateral institutions like ICJ, states should demonstrate their commitment to peaceful dispute resolution, respect for international law, and cooperation in addressing common challenges. Embracing legal mechanisms for dispute resolution is essential for building a more just, peaceful, and prosperous world for all of us. Thank you.